Hello, check, 1, 2, 3, hello. Back again, Nellyville Podcast episode 2. You came back for more, or maybe this is your first time here. Bless your heart, either way. So glad that you are here to listen to me ramble about whatever it is I want, because it's my podcast, right? So, if this is your first time of knowing of my existence, as one of my favorite YouTubers, Denzel Dion, likes to say, if this is your first time of knowing or hearing of my existence, please follow, subscribe, or do whatever it is that you need to do to keep up with me on whatever platform it is that you found me on. Come find me on other social medias. I have the Instagrams, I have the Twitters, I have the YouTubes. Right? All of the information will be below wherever it is that you're listening to this, hopefully. Hopefully I am that organized and that on top of it, that professional to have that information for you. I know you're probably like, Chanel, why can't you just tell us what your socials are? You tell us your handles. I could. But sometimes handles change. So let's think about, what if this is in the future? Right? I don't want to just say some handles and they've changed, right? Also, I'm lazy. Are my handles that complicated? And could I have probably looked it up and shared them in the time that it's taken me to ramble about how I don't feel like doing it? Probably, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to keep things complicated, right? And then we're going on this journey together to break it down and become simple. No, what am I talking about? I'm just saying words. Anyways, let's just get right into today's topic. What are we talking about today? Yeah, you guessed it. Why? Because you know how to read and you read the title. Spongebob is that guy. We're going to be talking about our favorite cartoon characters. Yeah, this is what we've come to. Making a whole episode dedicated to cartoon characters, specifically SpongeBob, but it'll make sense in a minute. Okay, so how did we get to the point where at 30 years old, I woke up and I said, I'm gonna do a whole podcast about SpongeBob. If you haven't clicked off already, you are my people, or maybe you just need background noise. In that case, that's okay too, because either way, I get to ramble. That's what I like to do. If you know me, I like to talk. Look, either I'm in a corner quiet somewhere not saying anything, or I'm popping off at the mouth. SpongeBob is my favorite. Always has been my favorite. But everyone can learn a little bit of something about him, from him. Okay, if you take away the silliness, the whimsicalness, and it being a kid show, really, at the end of the day, it is something that you can get out of SpongeBob. That message is, do everything with a smile, have great work ethic, always be a good friend to others, treat others the way that you want to be treated, even if they are not kind to you. Okay? So if you haven't picked up already, me talking about SpongeBob is a bigger theme to some more serious topics. You get what I'm saying? Are y'all with me? There's a lot of negativity in this world. And I think that if we could just slow down and pay attention to something that is so simple as a cartoon, right? Maybe we can get a little something out of it. And we can put a little something better into the world. Right? I got deep, right? Off of SpongeBob. Who knew? Think about your favorite cartoon. Why is it your favorite? Why is it your favorite character? Why is it the cartoon that has stuck with you all these years? I guarantee if you really kind of think about it and ponder over it, no, you don't need drugs or alcohol. But if that's, hey, look, you want to have a little recreational, while you get deep and think about this, I'm not going to stop you. Just be of age and be somewhere where it's legal. You know what I'm saying? So, or, be shady. I don't know. Should I not? I probably shouldn't encourage that behavior. Okay. For legal reasons, everything that I said for the last 20 seconds or so is a joke. Anyways. But no, seriously, look, I know y'all like, Chanel, really? No, seriously, think. What is your favorite cartoon? And figure out why was that one your favorite, and why did it resonate with you, and why after all these years, for my mature audience, why did it stick with you? There is, in fact, something deeper there. Isn't that something? All cartoons. It's something in them that is meant to be a teaching moment for people, mostly kids, because you want them to pick up on lessons early, but all of them. You know, and I know you're probably like, really, Chanel? Ed, and Eddie was supposed to teach our kids what? You know, Rugrats was supposed to teach us what? Yeah, some cartoons you look at and you're like, is this for kids? Even those have some kind of a learning moment for kids, but we're not going to talk about the appropriateness of cartoons. That's a different episode. But for the ones that are decent, I think that we all kind of know, most of us know that cartoons and storybooks and movies, fairy tales, fables, they're all meant to teach kids about social cues and social norms, which, you know, some social norms need to be broken or changed. But in general, it is a way to communicate to a child on their level certain things that they're going to encounter in life. Right? And do it in a way that they are open to receiving that information. Because kids are smart. Kids can comprehend you having a conversation with them and explaining to them, well, this is why this is nice and this is how you talk to people. And just like plays and movies do for adults, because we're always constantly learning, but TV shows and movies and plays, they do enlighten us and show us situations that they help us work through maybe experiences that we've already been through, or whether you realize it or not, subconsciously you will refer back to those things that you've seen on TV and in movies and plays and know how to navigate through that situation that you are in. So why is it so ridiculous to think that SpongeBob is of one of those teachers? I know that I'm giggling, but no, this is serious stuff here. Let's really break down the psyche of what it actually is. Okay? SpongeBob is a very popular cartoon and it is what, over 20 years old now, and still creating new episodes for a reason. You know, graphically, yeah, sure, it's very nice and appealing to look at. You know, the music is cool. People love the voices, but there's a reason why. A whole generation later, let's be honest, that it's still speaking to these kids. Some people might be saying, Chanel, it's brainwashing. Also another conversation for a different episode. So let's just keep going with this. So, on top of really SpongeBob being a great role model, being a model citizen, being positive, what else has he done? He has also done a lot for the LGBTQ plus community. Okay? We picked up on it very early on. A lot of people picked up on it very early on that SpongeBob is he's LGBT. Now, when the show first came on, did they introduce this children's show Sponge, especially considering it was a different time? Did they introduce him as, did they introduce him as a gay man? No. But adults knew, and some adults were threatened by that. There were adults, there were parents who fully did not let their child watch SpongeBob because they felt like, oh, well, it's gay. Because for some reason, some people feel like if their kids watch or listen to someone gay, it's going to turn them gay, which you don't turn gay. Either you are or you aren't. You're not, and even if it did, different times now, but back then, if you're the same age as me or older, and maybe even my younger listeners, it was a different time back then. Gay rights and people coming out had come a long way, but depending on where you lived, gay rights and being openly gay and being in that community at all has come a long way, even just in the last 5 years. So while it was way different in the early 2000s and the 90s versus how it was, say, in the 60s or 70s, it was more acceptable, but it still had some lingering of being taboo, and it still does today, but progress has been made. So when you have this character, and some people feel like, well, that's pushing an agenda. I mean, look, everybody's entitled to feel how they want to feel. And who am I to say that an agenda is not being pushed? Even with a cartoon like SpongeBob. All I'm saying is that for one, I believe in minding my own damn business. So, whatever somebody's doing in their private life, in their bedroom or whatever, ain't got nothing to do with me. Also, I serve a God of love. And love is love. You're supposed to love everyone. Okay, that's the second thing. The third thing, which I do not believe this. I personally do not believe that being gay is a sin. But just for the sake of, and nobody soundbite this and put my words together to make it sound like I'm not for the homosexual community, because I am for the homosexual community. Okay, don't do that. I can envision somebody now soundbiting this and trying to woo. That's not what we're doing here. Okay, we're trying to connect bridges, not burn them. Hello. But for the sake of argument, for the sake of entertaining the other perspective, even if being gay was a sin, all sin is equal. So someone being gay is not, if it were a sin, which I don't think that it is, even if it was, that's no more detrimental than someone stealing a pack of gum. It's just, everyone believes different things. This is not me preaching accept homosexuality. If you don't want to accept it, that's your business. That's your business. All I'm saying is that inclusivity and loving everyone as they are, I just think that is more important. And if SpongeBob is but SpongeBob was not all the way gay. He might be bi because he had a couple of little lady friends. I don't know if y'all remember, but he did. But also, it speaks to stereotypes. Now, I also believe that stereotypes do have a little bit of truth to them somewhere, and that's how they became a stereotype. There are very few stereotypes, if any, that stem from complete nothingness. What makes it a stereotype is that when you box everybody in that category. But it does not mean that there's not some kind of truth to it. So the reason why so many people just right off the bat assumed that SpongeBob was gay is because he was depicted in a way that a lot of people stereotype gay people. Being very, very rainbows and sunshine, being very happy, him being a male and being feminine at times, being soft, which aren't necessarily bad things, but I don't think that it was stereotypical to try to make fun of the gay community. I think that it was overly stereotypical so that you knew exactly what the message was on purpose. And that you could say, see, look, gay people aren't that bad. Look, they're happy, wonderful, contributing, law-abiding citizens like everybody else. I'm not gonna get too much into gay rights and that because I would like to spend a little more time on it. And right now we're talking about all things great about SpongeBob, and I hope no one gets offended by that. But I want to keep this a little bit light, and I think we're going down a road of maybe save it for a later time. We might circle back around to it, because I feel like all of that needs its own episode. Y'all know what I mean? So, what else did my man SpongeBob do for society? that sounds so serious, right? What did SpongeBob do for society? I know, I'm not completely delusional. I'm just the right amount of delusional to create a podcast, and I have some other quirks. I'm quirky. We all love to say that. SpongeBob is just nostalgic for me. I have been in love with that little guy since he first came out, and really honestly almost every birthday from from the time that I'm 30 years old now, and I still get SpongeBob merch. I still have SpongeBob cupcakes and birthday cakes. It's the kid in me. What can I say? I've been told I have an old soul. I do have an old soul, but I'm also a kid at heart. So you get the best of both worlds with me. You get the best. No, I'm not gonna sing. Best of both worlds. Hannah Montana, another one of my favorite shows. I love Miley, and she'll probably get her own episode too. So hey, stay tuned for that. But I do want to circle back to something that I was touching on earlier, which was how cartoons and shows, let's broaden it up just a little bit, how TV and movies shape the minds of all of us, not just kids, which is why we know that it's important to monitor and be careful of what you let your kids watch. But also, I encourage you to watch the things with your kids that you learned lessons from that maybe your parents never got around to teaching you, or maybe you didn't get from school. We all have those TV shows that, let's be honest, they raised us. So you want to be careful, but also you want to share that. Share that. The Full Houses, the Family Matters, the step-by-steps. Those shows, Good Times, let's go back even further. All the shows that used to come on TV Land, The Facts of Life, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There's some strong, powerful life lessons in there that can really help a person get through various situations and really understand how to process those things and how to handle it and maybe where to get help. And it doesn't even have to be that deep. It might be just little normal day-to-day hacks. They get to see live in action. It's one thing when a parent or a mentor or a teacher, it's one thing when somebody tells you. It's one thing when you read it in a book. And it also depends on how you learn. But it's something about watching people actually act it out and live it out on TV or in a movie that just really sticks with you. That it brings it all together. So when you think back on your favorite shows, why? Most of the time, our favorite shows are the ones we got something out of it. I know you're like, well, duh, of course you got something out of it. You didn't get anything out of it. You wouldn't want to watch it. But no, our favorites are the ones that did the rest of the raising that our parents just didn't do. And it's not because look, most people have parents that love them. Some people don't really have parents at all. But, look, not to get sad and dark. But parents are just adults or adults in general are just big kids. Yeah, sure, 18's legal, 21 and you can drink and stuff like that. But let's be honest. Everyone's just kids, and every year we just pick up on a little bit more of how to function in society and, how to stay alive. There's really no age that you officially stop being a kid, which is why it's so amusing when adults are so disconnected from their childhood. Just how you have people like myself who are big kids, you have adults who are fully just disconnected from not just kids, but their own childhood. Sometimes it's trauma that keeps them from remembering childhood and things of that nature. But young people, kids, teenagers realize adults have no idea what the hell they're doing. They're kids themselves. They've figured out some hacks to appear like they got it together, but nobody really does. Everyone's still going to bed watching their favorite cartoons because if nothing else, it takes you back to a place where you had no worries. It's nostalgic. It's calming. It is your happy place. Okay? Why do you think that all these streaming networks and YouTube and all of this, why do you think they all have all of these old reruns on shows? Because everyone likes to go back to the shows that they watched that provided some kind of escape for them. So even if you are not aware of life lessons that you're getting out of a show, if that show is providing an escape for 30 minutes, for an hour, if you're binge watching for a whole day, that's still allowing you to develop and figure things out so that maybe you can solve your problems or get closer. I think that binge watching TV is a healthy way to cope with stuff. It can't be the only way that you cope. Can't just run and turn on the Netflix every time. Be like, you know what I'm saying? Get some professional help. Seek some therapy. You know what I mean? Hey, look, SpongeBob can only do so much. It's a cartoon sponge. You know what I mean? All that to say, share that stuff with your kids. Conversations that are tough to have. Think of an episode. Think of a movie that maybe directly or indirectly addresses a situation. And you don't have to be formal about it. You don't have to be weird about it. Like, honey, I want you to watch this movie so you get to learn about the birds and the bees. Like, no, don't be weird about it. Just maybe like casually have it on. It'll surprise you. A lot of times your kids have a lot in common with you. Now actually like watching the things that you like to watch at that age. You know, sometimes, you know, teenagers and kids and stuff look at stuff like, oh, that's so corny. You know, they look at look. And not all of that's not always the case. Sometimes the kids like to watch the old stuff. The ancient stuff, the classics. A classic's gonna be a classic. And if they can get past the funny clothes and the funny hairstyles, the message that they're supposed to receive out of it, they'll get it. And the same for the young people. Whatever shows that you watch, new or old, that resonate with you, that maybe explain your situation in a way that maybe you can't formulate in words. We are not all people of words. I'm not. You listen to me ramble for 26 minutes at this point. Okay? Still doing a podcast. Right? So if you are not one with words or you're not sure how to communicate something, do it through a show or a movie. That's another reason why I'm changing subject just a little bit here. That's another reason why you want to allow your kids to watch something of their time. You don't have to allow your kids to watch everything because, let's be honest, some of the stuff is not for kids. And it's up to you as the adult, as the guardian, as the parent to decide what is for your kid and what is not. But I will say you are doing your child a huge disservice if you are completely isolating them from the media of the time. And here's why I say that. As we get older and start to make friends, colleagues, go on interviews, meetings, or just social settings, think about where does a lot of the conversation come from. That's right. TV, movies, pop culture. You don't have to be completely engulfed in pop culture. Because too much of anything is a bad thing. And we all see the effects of being too involved in social media and pop culture and things like that. But a lot of our best conversations happen because, oh, well, what kind of music do you listen to? Oh, did you see that episode of blah, blah, blah? When you get older, you ask people, oh, did you used to watch blah, blah, blah? For instance, Blue's Clues. Steve was the guy on Blue's Clues. Back a few months ago, he came back to social media. He the original host of Blue's Clues just left one day, and on the show they said that he went to college. And since then, they've had a couple more Steves. And the original one, you know, he was just that guy. Well, they didn't have Steves. They had different characters to fill that place. But you get what I'm saying. So a few months back, Steve comes back to social media and he kind of leaves like this message, this almost like a love letter. It was a video of him where he's explaining how he felt about leaving, how he's glad to be back. He was checking in with us as we are now. So those of us who grew up with the original Blue's Clues, a show that, you know, for a lot of us, that was one of our first favorite shows. It was a very nostalgic time for us. When Steve came back and made this video, speaking to us as adults, a character from our childhood that really meant a lot to us, it blew up. It was so touching. Not just for those of us who grew up with that Steve, but for the parents and the grandparents who remember when their kids were that little and how they were and who they are now, and that it really, you had people in literal tears. Grown men, and not to say men can't cry, I think men should cry. Crying is healthy. But people who you just would never think that could be or will be emotionally moved, they were so touched by that message. And I know it's like, okay, that's corny. Yeah, it's corny, but that's the point. You really felt like he was there and that he cared, and he said things. He was like, I know that a lot of you have graduated college now, or a lot of you have families and you're trying to figure out how to pay bills. And he touched on stuff, and you could look at it and say, okay, well, he said a bunch of generic things, but yeah, but for us as a kid, think about what you watched as a kid. Maybe it was Barney for you. Maybe it was Mickey Mouse for you. It was those early childhood, early development shows. They really, I don't know how they do it, but psychologically it really just taps into a part of you that sticks with you forever. So to have that piece of your childhood come back and address you as an adult, because it's one thing to go back and watch a show that you used to watch as a kid, and you're like, oh wow, I love this. But when that character comes back in the present day and addresses you and addresses your issues in the moment in time that you are now, it's just a different kind of motivation. It was a different kind of special. Anyways, all that to say that let your kids watch something, because some parents take it too far. And I'm not saying to do it because in another 20 years from now, no. What I'm saying is people have to be able to engage culturally. You have to be able to engage and have something to talk about. Conformity, on one hand, can be a bad thing because it takes away uniqueness and creativity and thinking outside of the bun or the box. But also a little bit of conformity can also go a long way if handled appropriately. As humans, we all want to feel like we belong in some way. And when you cut your kid off from everything, it's hard for them to know where to fit in. Do I fit in? I don't belong. I didn't get to watch that. I didn't see that. I don't know what that is. You don't want to turn your kid into an outcast. You don't want it to be a situation where your kids are hanging out, in between classes or on the playground, at the movies, or whatever. And you don't want your kid to be that kid where everyone's looking at them and are like, you don't know what SpongeBob is? You never saw that movie? You never heard that song? It's not the end of the world. And obviously everybody's not going to see everything. But like they said in Nemo, Dory said in Nemo, in Finding Nemo, if you never let anything happen to him. And Dory says this to Marlin, the father. If you never let anything happen to him, then nothing will ever happen to him. Okay? Dory says to Marlin, the father, about Nemo. And obviously, as a parent, you want to protect your kids. And I know you're like, Chanel, you don't even have kids. What are you talking about? All this parent stuff. You don't know nothing. Okay, well, whatever. I've worked with kids long enough to be able to speak my piece. And if you don't like it, you can click off. No, I'm just playing. But no, seriously. If you never let anything happen to them, then nothing will ever happen to them. Bad things are going to happen. We are all going to fall. Life is not meant to be easy. Yes, do what you can to protect your kids, and no, don't overexpose your kids, because some parents do the exact opposite and expose their kids to everything. You need to allow a kid to be a kid. They don't need to see and hear everything. Okay? But if you go the extreme and go the other way and don't let them listen or watch or see or do anything, they are going to be sheltered and they are going to have a culture shock because they're not used to anything. For older kids, you have to let them do something. You have to You have to allow them some kind of opportunity to show that they listen to you. You have to trust. You have to let them demonstrate responsibility and respect for your rules and your household. You have to give them that opportunity. Nobody wants their kids to make the mistakes that you as a parent made, but they're not going to make your mistakes. They're going to make their own. You have to raise them, and then you have to trust the job that you did. If you don't ever let your teenagers, not all teenagers want to go to parties and games and stuff like that, but for the ones who do, or whatever it is that they want to do that you feel like, oh, I don't know, you have to at least try. Now, if they mess up, they mess up. You take the privileges away. You start from square one. You set some rules. You give a curfew, a meeting point. Look, hey, I'm gonna let you go here. I'm gonna let you do this. I'm gonna let you do that under these circumstances. This is the only time I'm telling you. You can't handle the circumstances. Then that's just gonna be the end of that. At least until further notice, right? But if you don't give them that chance to mess up or to break that rule or a chance to break that curfew or to mess up, they will become adults who do not know how to control themselves. I've seen it. I was a student RA when I was in college. And I may have talked about this on a YouTube video, but the kids that I witnessed struggle, not necessarily academically, but it affected their academics. The kids that I saw struggle being away from home are the kids who were not allowed to do anything. The kids who were sheltered, those were the ones who were getting in over their head, who were getting in situations that either cost them their grades or completely got them kicked out of school. They weren't used to that type of freedom. And the college that I went to, we did not have dorms. We stayed in apartments, which is a whole nother kind of level of freedom, especially for 18, 19, 20-year-olds, okay? That's a different type of freedom for someone who's never lived on their own. Being in a dorm is a lot of freedom, but, but being in an apartment with other residents who were non-college students, that's a different type of freedom. It was not the students who did a little bit of partying in high school, who had a little bit of a social life, and who have dated, who had girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. They had an easier time adjusting to those freedoms because they were not overwhelmed with that freedom. And they had a little bit of experience. The kids who were sheltered, baby, a mess. A mess. And that's not exclusive to everybody. It was some kids who were sheltered and they they broke out of their cocoon a little bit at a time in the right way. And there was some kids who did some partying in high school who turned into bigger party animals. So you look like, hey, different strokes for different folks. But I'm just saying, on average, more than not, the ones who really went through the gigs were the ones who just parents would never let them do anything. Because they felt like, oh, I gotta hurry up and try everything. Like, it was just too much. It was system overload, and everything's just so readily available. So, if you guys would like a more in detail episode about my college experience, let me know. Maybe we can do one of those, because, of course, there are stories. And I went to an art school. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but so I would just say going to an art school with a bunch of artsy young people, your stories are going to be a little different from going to maybe a more traditional school. So I'll let your mind wander with that. So look, went off on a little bit of a tangent, but hey, we're just talking. We're just good Judies. You know what I mean? That's what the podcast is for, so we can go in depth and go out on tangents. Go a little deeper. So let's circle back around. SpongeBob is that guy. He is that guy. And it's important to remember who those characters are to you. Remember those TV shows. Remember those songs that you listened to as a kid. That nostalgia is important to your mental health. The things that brought us joy as kids, you have to go back to it sometimes. Or all the time. Because that's a big part of staying grounded. It's a great de-stressor. And, look, some of us don't want to drink at all, but damn, you can't drink every day. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody want to do the puff pass. You know what I'm saying? You gotta find something that's going to help you manage those stresses of everyday life. And I want to quote another YouTuber that I love, Luscious Massacre. If y'all don't know who Luscious Massacre is, Luscious is a makeup artist. He does drag. He actually, if anyone watches RuPaul's Drag Race, if you're familiar with the drag queen Shangela, Luscious Massacre did the makeup for Shangela on the HBO show We Are Here, which season 1 and 2 is now on HBO if you want to watch that. But Luscious Massacre is a makeup artist, YouTuber, and this beautiful work. But anyways, he always says, if you're going through the gigs, don't let the gigs go through you. So in other words, we all go through stuff, but don't let it break you all the way down. You know what I'm saying? We break, but we are not broken. At least not past the point of no return. You know what I'm saying? God heals all. You break, but you don't stay broken. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference. And watching cartoons. It's just one of those things. Sometimes just a little bit of nostalgia is enough for us to remember why we do what we do, or remind us of those dreams that maybe we let go of. It's never too late to go back and do the things that you wanted to do. And everybody has their own timeline. And people were like, oh, you know what? I used to be so good at that back in the day. Or, oh, I missed my window. No. For one, God makes up for lost time. So it don't matter what age you are. If you wake up one day and you feel inspired to do something, and try something new, or go back to something you put down, pick it back up. It can turn into something that's supposed to take 20 years, something that took somebody else 8 years, it might only take you 8 months. You might have went another way, but God, okay? Can we get church up in here? God has a way of making up for lost time. So don't feel like you've ever been away from something too long, or out of practice, or you are undeserving. And that is why it's important to be around people that feed you positivity. It's important to be around people who fan your flames, and to listen to things that give you good energy. Watch things and surround yourself with things and people that make you want to do something. Because if it's not feeding you, if it's not giving something to you, it's just draining you. And it's enough nastiness in this world that already drains us. We don't need to be around people and watch things and listen to things that just drain us even more. Family, friends, distant relatives, it doesn't matter. If they are just a cloud, or if they are not adding anything substantial to your life, you got to cut them off. People who want to stay stagnant, if you are the most motivated or the most positive person in your group, if you are leaps and bounds more of a visionary than anybody else in your group, you're in the wrong group. You're in the wrong group. Don't surround yourself around with a bunch of yes men. People who just tell you, what you want to hear. You don't want that either. Have some people who can give you constructive criticism, but who do not make you feel like you don't have it in you to do something. And I'm going to tell this little story because it kind of goes with what we're talking about right now. I recently went to get my hair done for the first time in 10 years. Another story. But anyways, so the lady who did my hair, I've been to a couple of events with her prior to she did my hair, and we started talking about how she wanted to sing and how she's always loved to sing. And I remember she sung a little bit at an event that we were at. And I remember this event, and I told her, I said, I so enjoyed that. I love your singing voice. I love the way your style was great. I was really, it was giving. It was really giving. And she said, wow, she was like, that's a really different perspective from versus one of my friends. Because it was her event that she threw. And she said that one of her friends / clients, after that event happened where she did the singing, she said that her friend was saying, oh my gosh, don't ever do that again. Like almost in a way of like, which, how can you call her a friend? Because what kind of friend does that? But the friend / client, it was almost like, oh, you embarrassed yourself. Like, don't do that. And that person may not have meant to be a hater, because sometimes your biggest haters are people who don't even realize they hate. They just spew negativity because this is what they know. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to call that person a hater. I'm not going to say that person was jealous or hating on you, but they were definitely projecting. Because why not sing? For one, this was your event and you were just having fun. Why can't you have fun? I told her, I said, like, that's not a friend. Because if I can't cut loose and just be myself, just be silly or whatever the case may be, if I can't do that in front of you, then baby, you're not a friend. You're not a friend. And I also told the lady that did my hair, I told her, I said, why should you feel like you can't do something just because you might not be the best at it? If we never do things because, I'm not that good at it, then, that's how you get good at something, by doing it. If you limit yourself to, okay, I'm only going to do this behind closed doors until I'm at a level that I feel like obviously, like, practice your craft or practice public speaking or, obviously practice, but you should never feel like, I don't want to participate in that because I'm not good at it. Sometimes you do things just to have fun, but really, to go back to her singing, she sounded good. So I really don't know what the friend was talking. I don't know what was so embarrassing about it. To me, she was giving. She had the the tonality was nice. She did a little bit of performing. Like the musicality, it was good. She performed. She put on it. To me, it was like I lived. It was real. It was good to me. I'm like, I don't know what your friend look. Everybody's music is not everybody's cup of tea, but the vibes were good, and I feel like that person, like maybe the client who said that, you know, maybe she could never imagine being so bold as to start singing in front of a crowd, and maybe she really identifies with the lady that did my hair, and she felt like they were two peas in a pod, and when she realized, oh no, the hairdresser lady has some confidence, and that was a part of her she couldn't identify with, she projected that onto her. And you have to be really careful about saying to people, oh girl, I could never do that, I would never do that, or don't tell people don't do something again. Like, really? Like, come on. Because you could really stifle somebody. Words have power. But also, you have to realize if somebody's giving you something, telling you, oh girl, no, I wouldn't do that, oh, that's embarrassing, that's a them problem. If they don't have anything constructive to put behind it, or they can just be supportive, or, you know, it's a genuine critique, then baby, in one ear and out the other. And just kind of make a mental note of when you finally do get to a place where you are successful with what you're doing, or you just figure out how to have fun with whatever it is you're trying to do. When you elevate with something, then baby, they don't get to come with you. Leave them there where they made that bitter comment, and then go watch you some SpongeBob. You know, very that. Anyways, I have rambled on, I think, for long enough for today, and I think that you all got the gist of what I was giving. So yeah, today I talked about SpongeBob a lot, and I kept going back to him, but it was really an anchor, is what SpongeBob represents, which is purity and happiness, and whatever your SpongeBob is, hold on to that. Hold on to what got you through as a kid. Hold on to that time where you had hope. Dream big at any age. There is no cutoff, okay? You don't have to, well, I guess it's time for me to be an adult and get a real job. That doesn't have to happen at 22. That doesn't have to happen at 40. You could have had a real job. You could be 65. Okay? If after you retire, you're like, you know what? Let me go back to what I loved doing when I was 19. Let me go back to what I loved doing when I was 10. Be that person. Just because you don't see anybody else doing it doesn't mean it can't be done. You might have to be the first one. If nobody else did it, that's just going to make you all the more special when you do it, when you make it happen. Because you're going to be first. Okay? Find like-minded people. Find people that keep you growing. It won't keep you stagnant. Because everybody can't go with you. It's hard to cut off old friends. It's hard to cut off family and colleagues. It's hard. But if you are out here grinding, and if you are out here doing what makes you happy and pursuing something, trying to start something, and you know you're putting in the work and the hours, and you haven't seen the fruits of your labor, if that's the phrase, if you haven't seen results, look at what's around you and look what could be potentially holding you back. Look at the people around you. God might be waiting for you to ask some people off so that you can grow. Because those people might have you anchored down and tied down. You know what I'm saying? God can extend that branch. You know what I'm saying? Because that branch is weighed down by your college roommate. You know what I'm saying? God can't sprout you up and bloom those flowers because you holding on to this nigga who ain't about shit for 12 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I know some of y'all might not want to hear, but hey, that's what I'm here for. For me to woo. You know? Anyways. Hold on to your nostalgia. Hold on to whatever your SpongeBob is. Okay? I can't stress it enough. Because sometimes that's the only thing to keep us from breaking down. You know what I'm saying? So, before we close out, I do want to end with the music segment. Remember last week in episode 1, we talked about what I was listening to for that week. Well, let's talk about what I'm listening to this week. What I recommend for you all to listen to this week. You know what? I think I had something planned, but I'm going to go another way. This is what I want y'all to listen to this week. And y'all going to be like, y'all are gonna gag because y'all not gonna see this one coming. Phil Collins. Okay? I'm feeling a little against all odds. You know what I'm saying? Take a good look at me now. You know? I'm a True Colors remake. Okay? Pull out some Phil Collins. Get inspired. There's a lot of creativity there. Lots of good love songs. You know? And I encourage you, find me on my social medias. Find me on the Twitter and tell me what is your favorite Phil Collins song. If you're not familiar with him, for my younger audience, if you don't know what a Phil Collins is, if you don't know who a Phil Collins is, really, that is your homework. Yes, I'm giving you homework. And tell me what you like about the Phil Collins. And if he ain't for you, tell me why he ain't for you. But you know what? I've never met a person who was like, I don't like the Phil Collins. You know what? I don't think I've ever met somebody who did not like the Phil Collins. So if you're not into him, or if you can't find anything that you like, really reach out to me and let me know. Because I've never... Girl? The girls want a battle. Anyways, that is it for episode 2 of the Nellyville podcast. Find me on all of my socials. Listen to that Phil Collins. Hold on to your nostalgia. And I will be back again next week with episode 3. Cannot wait to come back and ramble with you guys. Thank you for following along. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but hey, this is only episode 2. I might get better. No, I won't. Well, keep hope alive. You know what I'm saying? But also honesty, right? This is what you signed up for. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you finish whatever it is that you've started. And I mean that for today or just in life. Okay? Give somebody a hug. Go smile. Give somebody a compliment. Pay it forward. Do something. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys. Or, no, I won't see you. Well, I'll see you in my YouTube videos. Check those out. But, I'll talk with you next time.